The troll who kept the night. This is a story from a time when the night itself was watched over. Long ago, before clocks ruled sleep, before light chased darkness away, the night in Norway was deep and alive. Darkness was not something to fear then, it was something that belonged. It settled into valleys, it wrapped the fjords. It moved slowly through forests like a calm animal finding its place to rest. And high above one such fjord, where stone cliffs leaned inward and the wind spoke in low voices, there lived a troll named Skarde. Skarde was older than villages, older than paths worn by feet. His body was shaped like the mountain itself, broad shoulders, heavy limbs, skin the color of weathered stone. Moss and lichen grew along his arms and back, not because he allowed it, but because time had decided it belonged there. When Skarde slept, he was indistinguishable from the cliff. When he woke, the earth remembered him. But Skarde was not a troll who guarded treasure. He did not demand tolls from travelers. He did not roar or rage. Skarde had been given a quieter task. Every evening, as the sun lowered and the sky cooled from gold to blue, Skarde rose slowly from the mountain. He stretched stone shifting, frost falling, and began his work. With hands large enough to cup boulders, he gathered the night. He laid shadows beneath trees so foxes could pass unseen. He thickened the dark along cliff edges so birds could rest without fear. He spread it gently across the water, letting stars settle like scattered salt. The night was his responsibility. And for centuries, he did it perfectly. Below the mountain, in a small village near the fjord's edge, lived a girl named Liv. Liv was not loud. She was not particularly brave or strong, but she noticed things. She noticed how the wind paused before storms, how snow sounded different when it would last for days, how silence sometimes felt heavier than sound. Since her mother had died the winter before, Liv found that night no longer welcomed her the way it once had. When darkness came, it felt too thin. Shadows slipped and stretched strangely across her walls. Sleep did not stay, it hovered, then drifted away. So Liv lay awake, listening, night after night, until one evening, when the moon was only a pale curve and the air felt unfinished, Lex sat up and wrapped herself in her mother's old wool shawl. She did not decide to leave. Her feet simply carried her. She walked past darkened houses, past sleeping animals, past the last lantern at the edge of the village. The path upward was older than memory, and her steps fell naturally into it. The higher she climbed, the quieter everything became. No insects, no wind, only the deep, listening stillness of stone. Then the ground ahead of her moved. Not suddenly, not violently, like something stretching awake after a very long sleep. The mountain rose, and Liv stood before Skarde. He was enormous, so large that his presence filled the night itself. His eyes opened slowly, glowing faintly like distant stars seen through mist. "Little one," Skarde said, his voice deep and steady, "why are you awake when the night has been laid?" Liv felt fear rise, and then settle, because something about him was not threatening. It was old and tired. The night doesn't feel right, she said softly. Skarde frowned, a movement that sent a small tremor through the stones. I have done my work, he replied. Liv nodded. I know, but it's slipping. Skarde turned his gaze downward to the valley, to the village, to the quiet houses where people lay awake beneath thin darkness, and for the first time in centuries, he truly looked. He saw corners where shadows failed to rest, beds where sleep would not settle, spaces shaped by grief, worry, unspoken longing. The night had changed. Skarde felt a slow ache form in his chest. I cannot follow humans into their homes, he said quietly. Liv thought for a long moment. Then she said, then come with me somewhere else. Skarde lowered one great hand, and Liv stepped into his palm. It was warm, like stone that has held sunlight all day. Together, they descended, not to the village, but to the old burial grove where the pines stood close and the earth held many stories. Liv knelt by her mother's resting place and pressed her hand to the soil. She taught me how to sit with the dark, Liv whispered. She said it's where rest lives. The ground hummed softly. Skarde knelt. From the earth, he gathered something he had never touched before. A softer kind of night, a human night, shaped by love and loss and memory. Carefully, slowly, he wove it into the darkness he carried. The night changed. Not heavier, not deeper, kinder. Across the valley, people sighed in their sleep without knowing why. Dreams returned gently. The fjord reflected stars with a steadier hand. Liv yawned. Skarde carried her home and set her at her door. Will the night hold now? She asked sleepily. As long as someone remembers how to meet it, Skarde said. Lev smiled and went inside. From that night on, Skarde changed his work. He did not only place the night, he listened to it. And even now, when darkness settles around you, when it feels steady instead of empty, when sleep finally stays, that is Skarde, keeping the night. You don't need to do anything now, just rest. The night is being held.